Hey guys! Welcome to HistoReddit, the channel where I bring you the most amazing, funny, and bizarre Reddit stories. Today I'm going to tell you about an experience I had when I was working in a department store and I came across a very rude and selfish customer. She didn't want to donate a penny to a charity that helped children with heart problems, but ended up donating unintentionally because of a client who stood up for me. Were you curious? So keep watching because this story is a must-see. Welcome to our HistoReddit channel, Retail Stories where the customer is never right. I work at a store that sells bath bombs and other products that we often demonstrate on our sinks, especially for kids who love to see. The rule is that each client or group of clients can see one bath bomb demo at a time. We only have 2 sinks, and on this particular day we just did a demo on one of them. There were a bunch of kids gathered around, watching the bath bomb bubble and change colors from white to dark pink. A boy of about 6 or 7 years old and his mother enter the store. The boy runs to see the bath bomb and yells that he hates pink and that the bath bomb is bad. I try to be friendly and show him our basket of broken or faulty bath bombs that we can't sell. I tell him to pick a color he likes best, but the mother scolds me for trying to sell her son spoiled goods. I explain that it's just for a demonstration and that a piece outside the bath bomb won't affect the visuals in the water, but the mother doesn't want to know that. No point arguing, we have a budget for that in case people want to see a specific bath bomb that is undamaged. So I tell him to pick a new one off the shelf. I also tell him to choose wisely because he can only see one. He chooses a bath bomb that smells good but turns white in the water. So I suggest that maybe he chooses a more colorful and fun one and explain that this one isn't very impressive. He looks at me and yells what he knows very well, very loudly. This got me a bit confused. The other kids by the sink were all staring and many of the adults in the store turned away. So I let him put it in the empty sink without trying to convince him to change it. As expected, the water turns white and the boy is not happy. He starts screaming that it's boring and his mother demands that he can put another one on. I explained that we only have 2 sinks and now both are occupied. I also tell her that each child can only see one so that more people can have a chance to see it. She ignores me and tells her son to go get another one off the shelf. I tell her I'm sorry, but he can't put another one on. She tells me I'm being petty, and at that moment the boy is running between the rows of bath bombs trying to choose one. One of my supervisors comes over and repeats exactly what I told her. The mother says it's my fault for not warning her son that white women wouldn't be nice, even though I told him that a minute earlier. At this point, the boy runs back in with a blue bath bomb and my supervisor tells him firmly that he can't put it in the sink right now. The mother, clearly diabolical, accuses my supervisor of being rude to her son and demands to speak to the manager. We usually have very reasonable people in our shop and such bad ordering and behavior is very rare. Here's how it happened. My supervisor snuck out to get our office manager. The mother gave me a death stare, the most hateful I've ever received from a customer. She turned to her son and told him to throw it in the sink. I immediately told him that he couldn't, but the boy was already crushing the bath bomb in his hand. Before I could stop him, he threw the bath bomb into the water. It was total chaos. The water splashed everywhere, including the other children who were in the next sink. They started crying and calling for their parents. I grabbed some paper napkins to try to dry their little faces and clothes. I was furious with the mother, but I couldn't be distracted by her while the frightened parents and I tried to calm the children. And as I was doing that, I heard the clueless woman say, "Oh, that's not really that good either, is it?" I never wanted to hit a customer, but this time I almost lost my mind. After all the fuss, my manager got into an argument with the mother about her having to pay for the second bath bomb. My manager ended up winning, saying that if she didn't pay, he would call mall security. The parents of the children who got wet were very understanding and not mean at all. Sorry for the long text. Maybe that doesn't sound so hellish compared to other stories on this page, like no one was yelling at each other the entire time, but it was such a bizarre and arrogant encounter that I needed to vent. When the OP described the kid eating the bath bomb in the sink, did anyone else imagine the kid diving into the sink like a pro NBA player? Our next Reddit post is from Reliable Octopus. I was reading a post on Reddit and I remembered this story. When I worked for a large retail store, we had lockdown days around the holidays, where unless you were literally hospitalized, if you missed work you were double deducted and risked losing your job. Unfortunately, I caught a virus or the flu mid-season and was vomiting non-stop. I tried calling but was threatened with the above action, so I trudged to work and put a stool and trash can next to me. I had to stop serving customers to throw up in the trash can, and it went on for a few hours before one of my newer managers approached me. He asked, "What are you doing?" I replied, "Trying to hang in there until it closes." He said, "Please stop vomiting. I'm getting complaints from customers and it's making them uncomfortable." He went to speak to the general manager and repeated what he had just asked me. My general manager said, "What the hell is wrong with you? Send her home." My shift manager argued that he had no one to replace me and my general manager had him take my shifts so I could leave. I don't miss retail. Why does every manager say, "But I don't have anyone to cover your shift"? Dude, you're the person covering your shift, that's literally your job. I was manager of a large national auto parts company, which had a retail store with a full workshop. When the service manager was away, the mechanics would come to me. One day, something happened that I will never forget. It was a very hot day, over 40 degrees Celsius. It was about 2 in the afternoon. I was at my desk, shuffling through some papers, when one of the mechanics came up to me. His name was Kenny. He was a very nice guy, in his 50s, Vietnamese, with a great sense of humor. His English wasn't very good. He understood everything but found it difficult to express himself. But he always tried and he was always smiling. And he was an excellent mechanic. I trusted him to work on my car, and that's rare. Finally, he said to me, "Mr. Opie, come with me now." He was serious and always called me by name. I was worried, thinking there had been an accident or someone had been hurt. He led me to his work bay at the end of the shop. There was a white Ford Expedition 2000 in the elevator. He showed me the passenger side front wheel. The wheel and tire had been removed and were on the ground. Then he pointed to the bumper. I poked my head into the wheel well and looked up at the bumper. And there was a big clear plastic package containing a white brick. It was quite big, about 20 by 25 by 8 centimeters. It was well glued to the inside of the bumper. I looked at Kenny and he looked at me. He said it was cocaine for sure. I thought so too. I asked him how it got there. He said that he was doing a general overhaul of the car, changing almost all parts of the front suspension. The car had 78,000 miles on it. I asked him if he knew whose car it was. He said no. I told him to go back to the office and not touch anything. I went up to the counter and took the service order. It had a local phone number and address. I asked the consultant who the client was. He pointed to the waiting room next door. I took a look inside. He was a man in his 30s and his two sons, maybe 7 and 5 years old. He seemed like a nice guy, but you never know. At that point, I called the local police and told them what we had found and gave them vehicle and customer information. They said to hold him as long as I could, they'd be there soon. I walked into the waiting room and introduced myself to the man. I told him it looked like it would need a few more parts. I said that the stabilizer bar bushings and tie rod ends could also be changed. He looked at me for a second and then smiled. Okay, if you need to, you can do that, I have time. His children were very polite too. They introduced themselves to me with kindness. So I asked, how long have you had this car? He said, just a few weeks ago. I bought it at an auction down south. What kind of auction? I asked. Government, drug enforcement seizures, he replied. I think I got a great deal. This car is spotless, but I can trade in parts for the price I paid for it. And the interior and bodywork are great, he added proudly. I took a deep breath and said, dude, I have bad news for you, and started to explain. When the local police arrived, they brought the local FBI along with them. They inspected the vehicle and had Kenny put the steering wheel back in the car. He was taken to a tow truck and 2 FBI agents escorted me to the waiting room, where the poor guy was having a nervous breakdown. It turned out that the car was a DEA confiscation and that they forgot a huge bag of cocaine in it. They had to impound his car. They couldn't just take the drugs and return them like nothing happened, never mind a refund. I don't know if he'll ever be able to get the car back. The poor guy was devastated. The last time I saw him, the FBI was giving him and his kids a ride in an SUV. Looks like a DEA guy is about to lose his job. Our next Reddit post is by H. Arnold. For context, I work at a jewelry store that also sells crystal figurines. That initial interaction happened a couple of months ago and it came back this week. The initial interaction, one of the frequent troublemakers who has a crush on me came back. As usual, she walked over to me and seemed eager to waste at least an hour of my time being snotty and probably buying the cheapest thing we have. I made a point of stopping everything and reinforcing the importance of keeping the original box and foam, in case something happened to the figurine. We cannot ship for repair without these items. She acted like I was an idiot for thinking she didn't know this and made other rude comments. I ignored and finalized the transaction and it exited. This week's interaction, she stormed in, looking quite upset. I was at the counter and she came up to me with her now broken figurine. Do you remember me? You sold me this here and it's already broken. I expected more quality from a place like this. Oh no! How did this happen? I dropped it while shuffling some papers on my desk before heading to court. I'm a lawyer, you know? Yes, these figurines are quite delicate and will likely break if dropped. We can still send it in for repair if you keep the original box and foam. Why would I keep it? I threw it away in the trash. Madam, at the time of purchase I emphasized the importance of saving the box so that we could send it back. Without the box, we can't do anything. This is absurd. Why not? If we send this item through the mail, it will likely be damaged on the way to the repair center or on the way back, which is outside our responsibility. We need the custom box and foam for the item so that we can ship it safely. Don't you have extra boxes? A company like this should have extra boxes. No ma'am, unfortunately we don't have the space or resources to keep extra boxes and foam for every figurine we ever sell. Where is your manager? He left for lunch. Come back in half an hour and he'll be here. And 30 minutes later. This is ridiculous. There must be a contingency plan for those who don't keep their boxes. My manager says unfortunately not ma'am. Customers are instructed to store their boxes. Whether they do it or not is up to them, as are any consequences. What a ridiculous policy. And I overheard the associate say to a customer that you only work here 3 days a week. What type of manager are you? I actually split between 3 different places, so I tend to work 6 to 7 days a week. But I don't care too much about that. And she leaves. Our next Reddit post is from Master's Knot. It's 15 minutes after closing and I'm out to take out the trash from the front can. I'm finishing tying it up when a lady comes running up panting and screams, "Please don't close the gates." The windows are down and we're standing in front of automatic doors that won't open. We are closed. I let her know we're closed and I apologize for the inconvenience and start to go inside. She grabs my arm and starts screaming, "Please, my baby has a fever and is very sick. I need to buy medicine, please, she is very sick." Like most stores, keeping staff in the store after hours is a pretty strict rule for safety reasons, but when it involves a child and it feels like an emergency, I figured I'd make an exception this time. I'd rather not risk losing a young life because I was playing by the rules. I let her in and ask the front staff to escort her to the product and tell her it's an emergency. I run back outside and toss the trash in the trash can and come back just in time to see the completed transaction. To see that she didn't buy medicine, but a box of condoms and lube. She looks at me and apologizes, but says she doesn't want another child right now and laughs like it's funny to use a sick child pretext to get laid. I got so irritated that I blurted out, "I could get in a lot of trouble for doing this, get out of here." What's wrong with people? Serious? Opie, you took one for the world team. Wouldn't it be better if this lady had more children? Our next Reddit post is from Ashram Stop Looking at Me Swan. I was the customer in the checkout line and the cashier was serving me when a family of a mother, father and 7-year-old boy stopped behind me. The father soon walked away while the mother began to put the groceries on the conveyor belt. After she put some things away, she turned to the boy and said, "You were very good today, do you want to choose a chocolate?" The boy was super happy, took a Kinder Egg and put it on the mat. His mother told him not to tell his father. Dad comes back and Mom says she forgot something, so Dad keeps putting things in his belt while Mom walks away. The father then turns to his son and says, "You were very good today, would you like to pick a chocolate?" I have never seen such a happy child in my life. He takes another Kinder Egg and puts it on his belt as well. The father then says, "Don't tell your mother." I didn't say anything to spoil this kid's wonderful 2-chocolate day, but I had a good laugh walking out of there. Our next Reddit post is from Error404Life. To clarify, I live in a small rural town in Australia where everyone knows everyone else and the local meth addict is from that type of town. It's completely crazy and I have many stories about it on another occasion. I work at a popular dollar store in said small town. I've been working there for almost a year, but this shop has been there since I was a kid. Every year, they have a charity week where all employees collect donations which are sent to a larger charity that the store sponsors. On the weekend it's really fun and I got to dress up. I got to wear a rainbow dash style wig which all the kids loved. I had a system for asking for donations to keep it from being awkward. My insensitive boss doesn't seem to understand that people who pay by card often don't have change to donate, and he scolded me for the way I handled things. But hey, we raised almost $850 that week, so I must have done something right after all. Anyone who paid cash or had a purse or wallet, I would ask them if they wanted to donate and explain to them the charity we were fundraising for. I don't remember the name, but it was for children with heart problems, which sensitized many people to donate right away. I was working one day in a rainbow wig and this little girl came up to the counter, her so-called mother following her with her eyes on her cell phone. I don't mind parents talking on the phone, I can barely get mine off, so I get it. But she just didn't look up when she was turning corners or whatever. I went up to the counter and looked through the girl's things she was so excited about. She clearly had just gotten out of school and had a diary and some pens. The mother hangs up the phone, the screens are still on the message, then she takes her purse and rummages through it and takes out 20 reais, because she is paying with cash. I asked if she would like to donate to charity. She looked at me like I was a monster. This was the conversation. We have a donation box here. Would you like to donate any change you have? I said, chattering a little, because I was a little astonished. It's for kids with heart problems, to help them, she interrupts me. Why would I give my hard-earned cash to some random cashier? She says, it's okay, you don't have to donate. I say, do you donate? She asks. We already had the option to donate part of our salary to charity. It is only deducted from the total when we sign. I give about 50 reais along with the others. I say, oh yes? If you really cared, you'd give all your savings away. But you're just a dumb kid. She says, thank goodness I had a regular customer who was waiting in line. He pushed his basket forward onto my counter, shoving the woman out of the way. Silently, he gave her the biggest sneer. She just stormed out and I put her $12 change in the donation box, as I was instructed to do with everyone else. People in line simply dropped change from their pockets into the box. This woman was so distracted by being a badass that she forgot her change and accidentally was a good person. Here's an honest question. How are you supposed to know what to do with your money? Very few of us have access to meaningful advice on how to manage our finances. Even fewer have the means to obtain professional financial guidance. Improvement is a platform that was created to do something radical, provide accessible financial advice that puts you first. If you're like most Brazilians, your money is probably sitting in a savings account, probably earning next to nothing. Maybe you have an investment account and you're not sure what to do with it. Improvement can help you understand what to do with your money. Investing involves risk, but you don't need to know the ins and outs of the stock market to start saving more or start investing for your future. Improvement has other things to do. Improvement's platform can even provide guidance on what financial goals make sense for you. Give your money a new home with Improvement. Peace of mind included. Download the Improvement app today. Is better for you? Improvement. That was r/r/Talesfromretail, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button because I put new content out of Reddit every day. And that was the story of how I dealt with a client who didn't want to donate to charity, but ended up donating without knowing it. I hope you enjoyed and had fun with this situation. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. I bring you the best stories from Reddit every day, so stay tuned. A big hug and until next time.